Okay, let's continue with our statements coming out of the Leafs 7-1 win over the San Jose Sharks. I'm going with solid D on 5-on-5 again, Justin Pooni. Just one even strength goal in the last 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know we have to consider the opposition. San Jose twice, Anaheim, but then you got Carolina and you got the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about how Brad Treliving wants this team to play. I've been screaming at the clouds about Brad Treliving needing to go out and get a defenseman. Players are starting to get healthy. They got Giordano back. Liljegren is back. Simon Benoit looks really good. He's solidified his spot on that back end. Morgan Rielly's been one of the players this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think playing in front of Martin Jones, something happened on this Cali road trip where they changed their mindset and they realized they have to do more for this team. And they have been doing that. I mean, they're holding a lot of these teams to what? 15 shots by the second period. I think last night against San Jose, they had 12 shots after 40 minutes. Now, that's pretty good. I know you have to consider the opposition, like I keep saying, but the defense is trending in the right direction. 1 goal on 5-on-5 over 5 games is pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Mike Van Ryn has been doing a really good job with the defense.
Shout out Mike Van Ryn.
Shout out to Mike Van Ryn. Mikey V. But when you look at his defense core, even at the start of the season, we knew there was going to be problems there. When there was injuries hit, we knew there was going to be even bigger problems. But here we are. Yes, you mentioned they're playing against not the best competition. But I go back to that game against LA where, we saw guys blocking shots, getting in shooting lanes, playing sound defensively, giving their goalies support. That is what I've noticed. I think with the Leafs, this defense core, it's not going to be like other defense cores where you're going to have a guy, two guys that trot out there, and play 25 minutes, 30 minutes a game and eat up the whole ice, right? That's not going to happen. This is a defense by committee type of situation, and that's kind of the way they play. Nobody goes outside of the role. Morgan Rielly, again, will take those, chances offensively because he has the ability to. But everybody else after that is very sound and structured in how they play the game. We talk about Simon Benoit ad nauseum lately, right? He's, as Albert says, he's your favorite player's favorite player, or
yes,
whatever the tagline is, right? But playing within your role. Timothy Liljegren, playing within your role. These guys are not doing too much. They're playing sound hockey, and they're allowing their forwards, their superstars, the guys that make all that money we've talked about, do what they're supposed to do and put the puck in the back of the net. Yes, the defense is not scoring a whole lot, but the Leafs don't need them to do that at this particular moment. They need them to just create a fort, support the goaltending, play sound, play structured, and that's how you're going to win these games. Don't allow a whole lot of shots. When I watch the Leafs, Albert, there's not a whole lot of grade A scoring chances where the goalie has to make acrobatic saves or has to jump around and look like a prime Dominic Hasek. They don't have to look like that. The goalie looks in control, the defense looks in control, and that's because everybody knows their role, understands their assignments, knows their lanes. That is what makes a good defense score. Now, is it going to translate when you have to play a team 7 times in 2 weeks? Well, then you can get down and really hone in on every player's weakness. But in the regular season, when you play a different team pretty much every night, you can really, really take advantage of that when you have a sound structure. And Mike Van Ryn and Sheldon Keefe have done that this year. And I think that right there has been their best job coaching-wise because you know what the forwards are going to do. But to have this defense core play like this, Albert, is very, very impressive.
And honestly, what else we have to consider is Ilya Samsonov. Yeah. The confidence these players have in front of Martin Jones instead of Samsonov. Let's be real. I can't get out of my mind that Buffalo Sabres game.
Yeah.
Shots, fadeaway shots coming from the point beating Ilya Samsonov. And this is not me picking on Samsonov, but imagine you're a defenseman out there or you're one of the forwards and you're back checking and knowing that any puck that goes on net is probably going to go in. That changes your mindset. Now you got Martin Jones who can fall asleep and have a cup of coffee for half the game against San Jose, but then step up and make some good saves and not look like he's swimming and flailing in the net. Looks like a very experienced, calm netminder.
Which he is.
Yeah, which he is. And he's only 33 years old. We all talk about him like he's 40. But let's be real. This run that he's on is fantastic. 8-3, one of the best save percentages in the league. I think his goals against is sub 2 at the moment, which is incredible. Long may it continue. But good news coming out of Toronto yesterday. Joseph Woll was on the ice for the second time since his injury back in, I think, December 7th. Keefe said that he's still a ways away. But good to see Woll back on the ice. We're going to talk about Samsonov maybe in the next block because I have a feeling we might see him sooner rather than later. I know you think I'm crazy, but I think it might happen. Okay, you want to touch on Sidney Holmberg and Nick Robertson?
Yeah, man. Look,
Pontus. He looked like Sidney Crosby last night, no? What
That's
a goal.
exactly why I want to talk about it. What a goal by Pontus Holmberg, but also Nick Robertson too. Like, we talk so much about, the big guys, but I want to, you got to show some love to the guys that we don't see much.
So let's start with Nick Robertson. Where are you at with Nick Robertson right now?
He's not his brother Jason Robertson, that's for sure. He's
Come
on
on,
the same.
that's a low blow, dude.
I mean, he's on the same ilk as a Brent Gretzky, a Fedorov, a Sean Prong. No, I'm kidding.
What was Brett Lindros? Brett Lindros?
Brett Lindros? I don't
bad.
even know.
Sorry, Nick, dude.
You're not Jason. I'm sorry, bro. But look, like, he was a guy that was deemed untouchable like a year ago, right? And now you got to wonder what his value really is on the trade market.
I don't know.
Like, if the Leafs want to acquire a defenseman, top 4 defenseman, or even a top 5, top 6 defenseman, excuse me, and you offer up a draft pick and Nick Robertson, is that going to get you anywhere? Do teams really value or covet Nick Robertson? Now, again, he's still young, so teams might be like, oh, you get him in our system. He's not hiding behind these big-name players up front. He could get it and he could score. We just got to give him the opportunity. But, again, 13 goals he's on pace for, 26 points, only 54 games played. He's averaging about 10 minutes a game. I don't know, Albert. I think for a guy who came in with such high praise and high, stock, he was a second-round pick, 53rd overall. He's 20, turn 23 this year. So look, you're 22 going 23. The NHL's a young man's game. That's getting to a territory where you better start making some headway and figuring out where you slide in the NHL. And at this particular time in his career, I just don't see Nick Robertson as that offensive dynamo, offensive guy that's going to put up points. I see this guy slotting in as a bottom 6 player that's going to have to adapt and change his role and figure out a way to be more effective on the penalty kill, be more of a checker, be more of a grittier player to stay in the NHL. I just don't see. From what I see from him, yes, he scored, he found the score sheet and stuff like that, but I don't see him projecting to be what the Leafs initially thought they were getting in him.
No, I have a few things on Nick Robertson. One, I think that there's always a coach out there who thinks he can get the best out of a player. Mm-hmm. It's not working in Toronto. Bring him here. We can get the best out of him. If you put him on the San Jose Sharks, Nick Robertson is a top 6 forward, but that's not saying much. He's a bit of an in-betweener where he's got some offense, but he doesn't have the defensive, I think, abilities to play on the 3rd or 4th line. No, he should probably be a bottom 6 guy. I just don't think he has it.
That's why he's got to change his game.
And the only reason he was in last night was because Noah Gregor was sick. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling at some point, maybe at the deadline, that the Leafs are probably going to look for a bottom 6 forward, unless they're happy with what they have. And I think he might be the odd man out. We already see that Keefe likes to play Pontus Holmberg over him. Holmberg fits in that bottom 6, I think, a lot better than I was going to say Nick Robertson does. I think he's more physical. He's got some goals about him too. He's up and down the ice. He plays the entire ice. Robertson, he's hit and miss sometimes. In a game like this against the Sharks, he's going to get his. It was a point night for the entire team. So bravo to him. Hopefully he gets some confidence. But I just think that he doesn't really fit on this Leafs team at the moment. I don't think he's a bottom 6 on this team. I think he needs to probably move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I think if you look back to that serious injury he had, that might have derailed his career.
Yeah.
My concern as well is what's his value? You were just talking about him. Is he really a sweetener? Maybe not. I mean, it depends on the other team, but I feel like Nick Robertson is just completely out of favor right now, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, look, he's a guy where he's not his brother, like I said, but you mentioned the injury he suffered and stuff like that. That does derail a young person's career, right? That's why I think it's imperative for him this offseason or even during this season, to really reassess and evaluate where you are standing in the NHL pecking order. Right? Okay, I'm not good defensively, like you mentioned, but I'm not saying it has to become my strong suit, right, or my calling card, but if I can become a competent, well-rounded player, there's going to be roles for you always in the NHL. The NHL is always looking for bottom 6 guys that they can plug and play, that have a bit of offensive skill to them, but can also be responsible on the defensive side of the puck as well. That right there is one of the most valuable commodities. We're talking about the Leafs need another one of those guys, right? Yeah. If Nick Robertson can develop into one of those guys, that will be a great coup for the Toronto Maple Leafs. My final one, Simon Benoit, making fans love your
him.
Player's favorite player.
One game at a time. He gets high-sticked in the game, gets cut, comes back. He's got, the tampon in the nose, he's plugging his nose, comes back and throws a heavy-duty hit. This is the type of player that I want in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dude, I love this guy. He does nothing wrong. in this little stint of 5 or 6 games, I think he's got the best expected goals against out of all the defensemen. And now you have to consider ice time and pairings and who's playing against.
You're diving deep into the advanced.
But I'm just saying, like, you wanted somebody to be solid as a bottom pairing guy, and you found it in Simon Benoit. And he kind of Simon Benoit. And you found it in him. You know, you wanted that Zadorov, like I mentioned, for that reason. Now, is he the Zadorov? Does he have that type of upside? Probably not. Do they play a very similar style? I think they do. They both hit. They're both physical. They're both imposing out there. They can penalty kill. They can clear the zone. They can break out, make decent passes. Listen, for a guy who's making less than $1 million, Tree Living and the rest of the team, Keefe, I mean, they couldn't be more happier.
There's Simon Benoit imposing, and there's Nikita Zadorov imposing. A little bit of a different thing there, my friend.
I don't know.
Look at the size difference. I'm just saying.
All right.
But I agree with you. Look, as much as and I felt we were very negative on Monday. Look at this today. We're very positive about the Leafs.
Not negative. It was just the same old story about contracts. That's just what it is. But I did feel a little. It's one of those things that you'd rather celebrate than be angry about. And if you eliminate the hard cap system, then it's like, all right, great.
Yeah.
And we're the New York Yankees.
We're the Dodgers.
The Toronto Maple Leafs, right? Or the Dodgers. We'll just pay the luxury tax. That's just not how the NHL works.
But yeah, when I look at Simon Benoit, right? Again, we talk about the defense.
Solid.
He's a solid player. And I'm not saying that he's going to be Chris Tanev, but the way his rise in this Toronto Maple Leafs roster, and then his, the belovedness that the fans have with him, it reminds me of when a young Chris Tanev came into a Canucks team that was at the peak of their powers, right? Chris Tanev came in as an unknown guy, but did his job, didn't do too much, and eventually found a role in the top 4. And I'm not saying Simon Benoit is going to do that, but what I'm saying is that just a quiet, doesn't say much, plays his game, doesn't make very many mistakes, right? Just plays solid hockey. That is somebody who can play in the NHL. And like we talked about last week when I think one of our callers called in, he's going to play in the playoffs. He's going to play some meaningful minutes. He's not going to play a whole lot of meaningful minutes, but he's going to be a guy that Sheldon Keefe trusts. And if Sheldon Keefe and this team keep on trusting him and the leash gets longer and longer and longer, that's why he's going to get a contract extension. That's why he's going to be playing next year with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe that it's a credit to him and his development on the fly and being put into a difficult position. A lot of guys you see that get put in these difficult positions are going to crack and crash, right? Simon Benoit has not. He has flourished. He's done very well. And it seems to me also that the locker room loves him. And that's a big thing, especially for a guy who doesn't play a whole lot or wasn't expected to play a whole lot. But when the locker room comes in and gets support behind you, that's a big thing. And quite frankly, Albert, he could be in the running for unsung hero for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Norris.
No.
What?
No. There's
Come on.
No chance.
Okay, quickly. I just want to look at the Leafs schedule heading into the All-Star break. It's starting to get tough now.
Yes.
So they got the Islanders on Thursday night. Then they got a back-to-back. They have Colorado on Saturday and Detroit on Sunday, both at home. So my first question is, who gets the net on Sunday? Because I'm assuming Martin Jones is going to get the Islanders. I'm assuming Martin Jones is going to get Colorado on Saturday night. Then they got the back-to-back on Sunday against Detroit. Is it going to be Dennis Hildeby or potentially Ilya Samsonov?
Bro, it's going to be Hildeby. I'm going to say it. I'm going to beat.
He finally gets his first
I'm going
game.
to beat this drum because look, Detroit's struggling. They're not playing that well right now. You need to get him sometime. I don't think Ilya Samsonov is ready. I know Brad Tree Living has said that he wants him to play. Excuse me. Wants him to get it back in the game. They need him, but they need to see what they have in Hildeby. They need to give him something. I
don't think that they do. I really don't think that they do. What's the point of that? I think you're going to ride Martin Jones as much as you possibly can. Yeah. Potentially play Martin Jones in this back-to-back because the travel there is
travel is just from home and back.
Right? You have to consider that and consider the amount of energy that Martin Jones is exerting in these games, which isn't much, at least so far. That's probably going to change against the Islanders and obviously Colorado, one of the best teams in the NHL. But with Samsonov practicing with the Marlies, we don't know yet if he's going to play with the Marlies. Tree Living wanted a week for him to kind of just be away from the team, be away from the media, and kind of get his head together. Maybe it's like, hey, we gave you the week. You practice. You're back on the ice. Let's bring him back for Detroit and see what happens. And then finally you make that decision at the end. Okay, Samsonov is officially done. Now we ride Martin Jones and Hildeby for the rest of the way.
You can't do
until
it,
Wall comes back.
You can't do it.
I honestly,
you can't, especially
I will say this. I'm with you that they should probably play Hildeby.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think how Brad Tree Living and the rest of that front office is thinking right now. And I think it's trying to get Samsonov back in there and hoping that he can find some sort of confidence and some sort of form, at least similar to what he had last season, over Dennis Hildeby. It's what I'm seeing, not playing him on the last back-to-back, not playing him on that road trip, is that they really don't want to put Hildeby out there in the NHL right now. They don't want to stunt his growth. And I think that's really important to them, which is why I think Hildeby goes back down and Samsonov comes up.
Can't do it. Can't see Samsonov at all. Can't do it. Can't do it.